Hello and welcome to Horror Cult Trash Over, a show that discusses all the masterpieces and trash pieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary,
And I'm Chris.
and we are almost at the end of Pride Month now. We've got one more episode to go, an original versus remake after this one. But it's our final guest episode for Pride Month.
Oh,
I
enjoy
know,
our guest
I know,
episodes.
I know. Yeah, we're just lost when it's just the two of us to talk. Just bored of each other now. That's all these years.
It's
For
funny because it's true.
We're going out in style though for our final Pride Month guest for this year. We have someone from a podcast from across the pond. It's one of my favorite podcasts personally. It's a show that delivers honest opinions, great chemistry, and a lot of great humor. And they're also a contender for one of the best podcast names ever. Very appropriate for this episode. It's Trent from A Nightmare on Fierce Street.
Hi, yes, thank you both for having me. Sorry, I sound like crap today. I've got sinus stuff going on, but I'm here and I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. I mean, we have listened to episodes of your podcast. It's so good. And
Thank you.
recently did Poltergeist 2. We recently watched Poltergeist 2
It's a
and
time. It's a
pretty much
time.
shared all your opinions on it.
Yeah, it's a fun discussion. It is a, a movie that I didn't hate, so
yeah, there's stuff to be enjoyed there, but a lot of stuff
exactly.
wrong with it as well. It's very much like what we're going to talk about today. Before we do, I'm aware of your podcast. Chris is aware of your podcast, but tell our listeners a little more about Nightmare on Fierce Street.
Yeah, so A Nightmare on Fear Street, it's me and one of my very good friends, Sheree. We've known each other since college, which was years ago. And each week we take a horror film and we dissect it, we discuss it, we talk about it through different perspectives and angles. And yeah, right, we when this comes out, we'll be into our summer programming. We're ending our sixth season. When we're recording this, we're ending it on Monday. So we're excited about that. And yeah, so that's just a little bit about us. We drink copious amounts and have a lot of opinions that sometimes people agree with and sometimes people don't agree with. And it is what it is.
Amazing, amazing. And the film we're discussing today was actually your first episode.
It was. We back in the day when we first started, we thought we were very ambitious. We were like, yeah, we could discuss multiple movies in one episode. We were going to do the first three Nightmare on Elm Street movies because that is our namesake, of course. And we got through two. We got through the second one, and we were like, we have been recording for like 3 hours. No one is going to listen to a 3 hour podcast episode. So we were like, we will just do a two-parter for that first one. But yeah, we've grown a lot since then, in our podcasting and in our format. But yeah, it was a good time when we talked about it. It was feels like forever ago, even though it's only been like, I think we're almost 2 or 3. So yeah, yeah.
Yes. And yeah, with that being said, we are finally, and we've been going we're a podcast since 2019, I believe, 2018, 2019, around that time. And this always feels like the film we should be discussing during Pride Month for many, many obvious reasons. And we're finally getting around to it. We are discussing A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge from 1985. And no, we don't know who he's getting revenge on. Who's
Does it,
Freddy getting revenge on?
That's true. Oh yeah.
this movie is a mess.
Nancy,
It's a
Nancy's
decent mess, but it's a mess.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's this franchise as a whole. I think Scream recently overtook Nightmare on Elm Street as my favorite franchise after Scream 6. But what? No, do you not agree,
I
Chris?
do not agree
No.
with that opinion.
Well, and Nightmare on Elm Street is the
I
franchise.
do. So
Yeah, thank you. It's one of those franchises like Scream where started by Wes Craven, and you can just go back to it again and again and again. It's just so much fun to revisit. Like even the bad ones, like even Freddy's Dead. You know,
Oh,
yeah.
it's just so much fun to revisit. So, you know, lots of camp queer joy. I mean, even when you look at stuff like parts 3 and 4, they're very gay.
Yeah,
In tone.
it's camp. It's
In
camp.
tone,
Freddy
yes.
Krueger is camp.
Yeah.
He's yeah, he's a
Absolutely.
character.
Which is why, sorry to like talk about a different film, but that's why, in my opinion, the remake, while it has some decent parts, it doesn't ultimately work because they tried to mess with the heart of the franchise, which is
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger, and make him more gritty and real. And I'm like, that's not what I go to a Nightmare on Elm Street movie for. I go to it for campy Freddy Krueger, who's kind of creepy and, you know.
Absolutely. And our very first original versus remake was on A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I've not watched the remake since because analyzing it for the podcast just made me hate it even more. Like it's the only one in the franchise I would not revisit because in my mind it just doesn't exist anymore. It's just a miserable time. There's no fun with that one.
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't good, girls. It wasn't
No.
good.
But this first sequel, directed by Jack Shoulder, who directed The Hidden, Renegades, Arachnid, Wishmaster 2, Evil Never Dies, Generation X, Sketch Artist 2, Hands That See, yes, the erotic thriller with Courtney Cox,
Oh,
Alone in the Dark, and more. Yeah, career after this, he had a career. More on that shortly.
yeah, something.
Well, I mean, have you seen Sketch Artist 2, The Hands That See?
I fully intend on it.
Were you one of the 10 people who have seen that movie? Tens on tens on tens have seen that movie.
Watched it. I starred in it.
Written by David Chaskin, who wrote The Curse, I, Madman, Monsters, Midnight's Child, and Love Hurts. And of course, based on characters by the legend that is Wes Craven, who, I mean, we've discussed enough Wes Craven films. You know who he is now. You don't need an introduction.
He's the one. Didn't he present Carnival of Souls?
Yes, let's not talk about Carnival of
my
Souls.
favorite.
Budget $3 million, and it made $30 million at the box office.
Yes.
Which is good. That's a hit.
Yeah.
That's a hit.
Well, yeah, there were a fuck ton afterwards, so it must have done well.
Yeah. Critically, it wasn't received so well.
No.
But again, with the same thing about the career of Jack Shoulder, we'll get to that shortly. But had this film failed, New Line Cinema wouldn't have survived. Like, this hit big enough to finally give the studio some cash flow. Again, New Line Cinema is very much the studio that Freddy built.
Yes.
You know, in the following years, they had further success. They had the Critters films, of course, more John Waters movies that they released. However, all of this was uncertain back when the film was being made, and Robert Shea micromanaged every aspect of the production, regularly confusing crew members by stepping over the line and offering understandably uneasy relationships between Robert Shea and Jack Shoulder. On top of this, the production was remarkably rushed, slotted for November 1st, 1985, when the first film was only November 9th the year before. As a result, tensions were high, the hours were long, and the work was hard, and there was no real time to stop and second guess the direction of the film. And in the documentary, Never Sleep Again, Robert Englund recalls several moments during filming, like the pool sequence, where he struggled with playing the part because so much of it felt like it was against the rules in the first installment. And I think that's very much evident in the fact that it was rushed.
Yeah. I think it's evident that a lot of the sequels that followed just completely ignored this film.
Yeah.
The characters are never to be mentioned again. You know, Dream Warriors is really a continuation of the first film. None of what's established in this film really comes back at all. So it's a weird anomaly in the series where it just kind of sticks out like a big gay thumb, you know, and it doesn't really fit.
Well, and it's wild to me because, you know, having I'm such a huge fan of the documentary Scream Queen, which
Yes.
is about the making of this film and all of this stuff that the filmmakers tried to pin on Mark Patton, who was at the time not openly queer in Hollywood because it wasn't smart to do it in the 80s. You know, it's gotten a little better today. We could talk about where it is and where it isn't.
Yeah.
But and I honestly, because like I love Jesse as a character, and I think it sucks that these filmmakers just couldn't get their shit together to figure out what to do with this queer character. Like if they had really leaned into the queerness of this film and celebrated it and talked about it, I think that maybe not in the moment when it was released, which we talked about that it was you mentioned that it was a somewhat of a box office success.
Yeah.
It might have hurt it in the momentary box office, but I think it would have helped it in the um zeitgeist of horror fans and specifically queer horror fans, which I think today's opinion of that film would have been so much better if they had just accepted it, because it was wild to me that even in that documentary at the end of everything, when Mark had his sit down with the two filmmakers, they still said they didn't make a queer
Yeah.
film, and I said, what?
How can they deny? I mean, I'm bring it forward because usually we'd do this after the cast discussion, but a question we ask all of our Pride Month films is what makes this queer? And honestly, the fact that this film is queer is the one thing that everyone knows about it. Like it's unavoidable now. Everyone knows this as the gay one. And as you were saying, you know, there is a documentary dedicated to this entirely, and it is fantastic. And highly recommend it. But to give a brief overview, the film was released, it made money, but it received so much backlash because of the gay overtones, and it's not subtext, it is in your
Text.
face. Yeah, it is text.
It's just text.
The filmmakers and writers refused to admit that they knew anything about this, and it was all blamed on Mark Patton, completely ruining his career until recent years, where he's reclaimed it, and the film is now embraced by the LGBTQ plus community. But this absolutely ruined Mark Patton's career, and the director, going back to what I was saying earlier, is like still in the 90s, still making films, still making money, still got a career.
Yeah,
it's a difficult one because on one hand, obviously Mark Patton's career was, you know, damaged by being in this film and by the filmmakers putting the blame on him for the gay text of the film, but also it's kind of kept his name out there
Yeah.
all these years. The film does have a cult following. He is going to screening, you know, and it's many years later, but he is going to screenings. He is being asked for autographs. He is being able to make a documentary to tell his story. The question always is, what if? If the blame hadn't been put on him, where could his career have gone after that? And I suppose that will always be a question.
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword because the notoriety of the film has made it a cult classic, and in many ways has made Mark Patton, at least in this household, a household name.
Yeah.
There are actors in the other sequels, you know, I wouldn't be able to tell you their names.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't really name anyone besides Patricia Arquette. I literally Mark Patton, Patricia Arquette, and Nancy, Heather Langenkamp. Those are the and Johnny Depp, of course. Those are the only like 4 or 5 actors from this whole franchise that I could like this person, this person, this person, this person. And I think that to a certain audience, this film holds a really special place, a queer audience, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think, and I talk about this a little bit in the documentary about just the real backlash he received after the film was released by horror fans as a whole, because, you know, I'm sure you both have witnessed this too. Horror fans, up until like maybe the past like 5-10 years, have been predominantly cis white straight dudes.
Yeah.
And that's been the voices in horror for the longest time. And so, of course, they didn't understand this movie. They didn't get the horror of having Freddy inside in quotation marks. I forget people can't see me. But like Freddy inside of you gonna, come out and kill a bunch of people. Like they're not gonna get that or not subtext, like we said, they're not gonna get that symbolism, that text that a lot of queer folks are gonna get. So I think that it is interesting, like you said, where would Mark Patton be today if that wasn't blamed on him and wasn't essentially outed by this film? And it's because right before he did this movie, he did come back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean with Cher, which wasn't a huge success, but it was a pretty a critical success for the most part, and also queer, and that didn't ruin his career. So it's like,
yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. I mean, we love that film, don't we?
Robert Altman's one of my favorite directors. Love that film. It's an interesting point, an interesting thing to think about where his career maybe would have gone if he hadn't have done A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Probably more prestigious work. Plus, he decided to go for he'd auditioned for the first film. But it's also in many ways brought him closer to the gay community too, because of the film, and that must be a nice thing for him. And I'm sure he's living a very happy life now from what I've seen online.
Well, he essentially for a long time moved, like he hasn't lived in America since the 90s, I think. I don't know when he moved out there. And I recently, like in the past year, I know he had some medical issues that he had to like crowdsource for. So he's definitely still having some struggles, and that's only because the country that he's living in does not have the infrastructure that the US does. But I do think that this film in today's world has definitely, and the documentary helped out a lot with that as well. It endeared him to the LGBTQ plus community, and I think for that reason today, I think that's maybe why he sees it as kind of a double-edged sword.
He was recently in Swallowed,
which was an incredible film. Go watch it, it's so good.
We are desperate to see it.
And annoyingly, we missed out on our chance to watch it. So we're kind of desperate for it to be released.
And who? There's another female in that movie that I can't place her right now, but anyway, she's also a huge name too.
Well, I think that's a good segue to talk about the cast.
Yes, in a section we like to call "Hey, I Know You." Oh, it's Pride Month. Gay, I know you.
Well, I mean, fitting, because first of all, Mark Patton as Jesse Walsh, as we mentioned, star of Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, Family Possessions, Swallowed, Amityville Clown House, Anna to the Infinite Power, and more. His career is definitely getting more roles in recent years, which is great to see. Brad Pitt, John Stamos, and Christian Slater all auditioned for the role, and Michael J. Fox was considered for the role of Jesse, but was unable to because of his commitments with Back to the Future and Teen Wolf. I mean, wow. Imagine if it was Brad Pitt or Michael J. Fox. That would have been...
they could blame it on him.
But I mean... he's great in it. He's so much fun to watch. He's just such a good actor. I mean, he fully embraces the male scream queen, which he would have been the first one. He's so good at it. I really love Mark Patton. He's great.
There's a likability there that's sort of integral to the role.
Well, it
so well.
He is the perfect first, final boy, because he is so likable. Like you said, he is charming without being too much, and he's dealing with, his burgeoning sexuality that he doesn't really know what to do with. And I love the moments of joy that we get from him in this film.
Yeah.
That, I think that it's an easy read of this movie to be about, this is about the fear of coming out, which, okay, sure, that's a pretty obvious read. But the moments of like pure joy that I see in him, those are my favorite parts of this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, particularly as much as he apparently hated it, that dance scene. It's iconic.
If I ever meet him, I'm gonna say, "Look, girl, I love that scene. Give me
Yes.
those shades and that little pelvic thrust he does." I was like, that was an awakening moment for me. Okay.
Kim Myers is in this as Lisa Weber, supposedly only cast because she looked like Meryl Streep, and she does look a lot like Meryl Streep. This is her first film role, and she was also in Hellraiser Bloodline, poor thing, Key West, Letters from a Killer, Seinfeld, Perversions of Science, White Palace, Illegally Yours, State Park, and more.
Yeah, I think she's kept a steady career in sort of small parts in films.
Yeah, she was also in a couple. I think she's done a lot of TV, which, hey,
yeah,
it pays, girl. Get your money.
Absolutely. Robert Russler is Ron Grady. He was in Weird Science, Thrashing, Sometimes They Come Back, Pretty Boy, Vamp, Murder, She Wrote, The Substitute, Amityville, A New Generation, and more. So many.
How many ties to Amityville are we gonna get with?
I know, yeah. Like everyone knows has been in an Amityville film. It's amazing to me how like the whole cast of Nightmare on Elm Street have been in Murder, She Wrote. Like,
yeah, and I'm living for
it. He was so attractive. Ooh, he still is attractive, but he was real attractive back in the day.
Yeah, you see why Jesse was gravitating towards him, and their little relationship they had.
Yes.
I don't know, any true-blooded gay guy would go with Meryl Streep. I feel like I would have wanted to.
Oh yeah, be her best friend, but I would want to.
Yeah.
And we've got Clu Gulager as Ken Walsh,
which sounds like a fake name.
It does sound like
his name. Clu Gulager.
Yeah. He was in Return of the Living Dead, Feast, The Last Picture Show, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Initiation, The Collection, Piranha 3 Double D, and more.
Yeah, he'd been in quite a few films before A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Obviously, he's an older guy.
Yeah.
He plays his dad. Yeah. He was in The Last Picture Show as well, which I film I love.
I'm just gonna put it out there right now before we even jump into the film. I fucking hated his character in this so much. He's so unlikable. Like he's the complete opposite end of Mark Patton.
Yeah, the homophobic dad.
And Hope Lang plays Cheryl Walsh, star of Death Wish, Blue Velvet, Clear and Present Danger, Just Cause, Before He Wakes, Peyton Place, Murder, She Wrote, Bus Stop, and more.
Yeah, Another Mother, who was Oscar nominated before the film. Love a bit of Hope Lang. Love Peyton Place, Blue Velvet. What a queen.
Yeah, the better of the two parents.
Oh no, I was comparing her to Ronnie Blakely in the first one.
No, I mean in this she's better.
Oh, I thought you said she's better than Ronnie Blakely.
God, no.
I don't fucking think she's better than Mark.
Oh, she is my favorite character in that first movie. I live for the drunk mom. I live for her.
That's what Hope Lang was missing. The scene where she lights a cigarette in a really camp way.
Robert Englund finally plays Freddy Krueger again. He's, of course, the face of the rest of the franchise. He's an urban legend, Wishmaster, The Mangler, Stranger Things, Dead and Buried, Death Trap, and more. New Line Cinema originally didn't ask him back. They actually wanted a stuntman to pay him. They didn't want to give him a pay rise.
Wow.
And they quickly realized that was a terrible idea. And eventually they got him back, and yeah, the rest is history.
So we love the franchise as a whole.
Yeah.
And we watch lots of documentaries about A Nightmare on Elm Street. One thing that comes up a lot is that Bob Shea, should I say, Bob Shea doesn't come across as the greatest guy.
No.
He comes across as someone who sticks his nose in when it's not needed.
Yeah.
Refuses to pay people, thinks he knows better than everybody else, and I much prefer his sister.
Yeah, I can't.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah.
But also Freddy Krueger in this film, the makeup, they tried to give him a sort of male witch look and make him a little more demonic looking. And I'll say this might not be the scariest film in the franchise, but I think this is the scariest version of Freddy we get. Like the makeup wise and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can be down with that.
Unless actually maybe New Nightmare might just need a little bit for that. But I always remember, and this is my history with the film, I was obsessed with this franchise from a very young age. And this one, I couldn't get past the bus scene at the start because I was terrified. I had fucking nightmares about it. And it took me a while to watch the whole film.
It's ironic.
I know, yeah. And then when I finally watched it, I realized a lot about myself. But
Jesse?
yeah, no, I always thought,
Is that you?
I always thought he just looks so good in this. I mean, Robert Englund's always great, but yeah. I mean, what's your histories? When did you first watch it, Trent?
Oh, I mean, as a teenager, I was obsessed with horror films from so young that I would just go to our, movie rental. For those young listeners out there, if you're out there listening, there used to be buildings that you would go to, and it was like Netflix, and you had to pick which one you wanted to watch. Anyways, I would just go down the line. I mean, I watched all of the good ones, the bad ones, everything. So I watched this as a young guy, as a young teen. I don't know that I necessarily picked up on all of the what was going on, but I definitely enjoyed that it was a final boy who was with a girl, but he wasn't really interested in her. He was, obviously much more interested in his best friend, which I at the time don't know where I was in my coming out process, but I definitely found a kindred spirit, if you will.
What's your history, Chris?
Well, I watched the first one first, obviously. Best way to do it with this franchise. And I sort of got around to watching this one, and I was quite young as well, and I'd heard that it was the gay one, but I didn't really understand what that entailed. Just that, I didn't really understand that the S&M bar was a gay bar, or why it was a gay bar.
Well, and in our defense, that if you don't know at the time, I was like, "What's drag?" Those drag queens were not necessarily, I didn't know that I clocked them as drag queens back in the day, but I mean, they're very obviously drag queens today,
Yeah.
That's not how drag is in the UK. That wasn't how we were brought up with drag.
Yeah, drag in the UK is mostly growing up, it was like northern older drag queens with that very have you seen any seasons of UK Drag Race?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very much exactly that. Like Bag of Chips, that's what drag queens have always been like.
Were like Bag of Chips.
Yeah,
like Bag of Chips, definitely. Cigarette and
leopard. And I will say these drag queens in this film are very much the straight man's idea of what drag is. I don't know if they necessarily understood the true art form of drag, which is probably why it wasn't that clockable. It was, as a kid.
Okay, let's talk about our feature presentation.
Watch out for him.
It started to happen again. Dad! I'm in trouble. You've had some scary dreams, okay? Help!
Daddy can't help you now. Freddy is back on Elm Street, and he's not a welcome visitor. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2. Freddy's Revenge. Rated R from New Line Cinema.
Now showing at a theater near you.
So 5 years after Freddy Krueger's apparent defeat, the Walshes have moved into Nancy Thompson's former house. Their teenage son, sweaty twink Jesse, has a nightmare about being stalked by Krueger driving a school bus. He and two homophobic girls, who just keep laughing at him on the bus for some reason, are on a school bus being driven by Robert Englund out of drag. He changes into Quick Freddy drag, drives them out into the middle of the desert, makes the ground fucking disappear beneath the bus, laughs at them for a bit, scrapes his glove along a bit, and attacks them. And we get that transitioned into a shot of a tomato being cut by Cheryl Walsh.
Let's get this out there straight away. This is one of the sweatiest films I have ever seen. Everyone is perspiring constantly. Now, in some ways, it's very good, some not so great. And I'll explain when that is. Another question, this start. He's having a dream about being on the school bus.
Yeah.
But he drives. And at the end of the film, he's back on the school bus in what could or could not be a dream. We don't know. We never find out. But he drives.
He does.
So why are his dreams about being on the school bus? He drives to school.
Well, is it like, you know, you're dreaming of what you like the situations you used to be in? Maybe, I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it a lot.
Oh, like
but
if I dreamt about being in like a physical education class.
Yeah.
I dream that I'm in college all the time, and I don't understand why. I had a decent college experience, but like I am constantly dreaming that I am back in school or late to class, and I get there and I'm naked, or like I'm in a show and I go to curtain call and no one claps for me. Like
Yeah, no, it definitely makes more sense. When you look at it like that, that definitely makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm glad he's on the bus because I think it's such a great opening sequence. Again, scared the shit out of me when I was younger. And it's just, it really throws you into it straight away.
Yeah, he's got his greasy hair.
He has.
And his eyeliner. I feel like he was wearing eyeliner.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
The lighting and makeup in this scene is not great, but I think this is one of the best opening scenes of a Nightmare movie. Maybe even just second to the first one. Maybe it maybe even beat the second one. I don't know, or the first one. I think this opening scene is really fun.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
I think it's also in keeping with what a dream is. And dreams can be over the top and ridiculous.
Or like 1 minute, 1 minute you're in a bus and there's someone laughing at you, and the next minute, like there's no transition. The next minute you're like on a cliff and teetering back and forth. What's going to happen? You know?
Yeah. Those two bitches got what they deserve.
Oh yeah. Did they survive? Because that's the thing.
Terry
the dreams,
and Sherry.
The dreams in this film don't quite match up with what happens with the dreams in the first film. So this is very much Freddy trying to come into the real world and so on. But like scenes like this is like, okay, there's two girls. Are we assuming they're dead now? But it's fine. I'm just grateful the sequence exists.
Called a rushed script.
Well, yeah. After Jesse wakes up from this nightmare, he lets out one hell of a scream, and his sister, Angie Walsh, asks her mum, "Mummy, why can't Jesse wake up like everyone else?" And she's like, "Oh, he's all right. He's just having a bad dream."
You know what's the case? We wake up dramatic. We can't even sleep and not be dramatic. Like, we wake up.
I wake up like this every day, every single day, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's either waking up screaming or it's waking up like, oh, what's going on? Never just like, good morning, let's do this.
Or when you reach your 30s and you wake up like, oh God, I can't get out of bed, my back.
Right. Or if you had one drink the night before, you're like, oh God.
I liked how his nightmare woke him up literally a minute before his alarm went off.
Yeah.
Happens to me all the time.
What I didn't like is sister's choice of cereal.
Fu Manchus.
Yes, yes.
It is very 80s. It's very
Yeah.
Very. But obviously, Fu Manchu a very, let's just say, racist caricature
Yeah.
Oh,
in cinematic
absolutely.
history. I understand why they chose Fu Manchu because of the nails and such as the prize, but they're not. It's not a real cereal, is it? I googled it and it doesn't appear to be a real cereal.
I've
Fu
never
Manchus.
heard of it or seen it or thought of. Yeah, never. Yeah.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Side note, you know what was a real cereal?
What?
Strawberries and Screams, the Scream cereal.
Yes, I remember
Oh my
that.
god.
Oh,
Literally, we looked
out.
everywhere in the UK for that, and we could not. We could find the Jaws one. We could find the Back to the Future
Yeah.
cereal, but not the fucking Scream cereal. Like seriously.
Oh, disappointing.
So if any of our listeners still have Scream cereal, just send it our way. We ain't gonna eat it. It's probably out of date now.
It's radioactive now.
Stale. It'd be like rock hard.
Jesse wakes up in his tighty whities and attributes the dream to unusual heat in the room. Like this house gets to 97 degrees at one point.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I do appreciate the use of the tidy whities in this movie.
Yeah.
Another reason why I'm like, you didn't know you were making a what? You didn't.
The camera is on them. The camera is on
Right.
them the entire time. It's
The costumer knew.
yeah.
Everybody else knew, but you. Okay.
Angie finds the Fu Manchu fingers in the cereal and puts them on to Jesse's horror. But he doesn't really do anything about it. He just goes to school with his friend Lisa, whom he's good friends with, his best gal pal. And I feel like there's a different intention there. At first, I don't think there is a different intention from Lisa until she speaks to Kerry, who's kind of like, "Are you getting any yet?" And she's like, "No, it's just my ride to school." I was like,
Yeah. I think every gay film, every coming out film has to have the
straight girl getting a heart
likable straight white girl who gets her heart broken. I think it's inevitable. And poor Lisa, she I feel like if he had just come out to her, she would have been okay with it.
Oh yeah.
But maybe he was stringing her along a little bit and not,
Yeah.
being
I mean,
fully-
probably.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, what I all of my straight girlfriends have all at least had one, if not multiple, exes who are now gay. Like it's rampant out here, and and I will say this, speaking on just the cast again, really quickly, I do love that these three, Mark Patton, Kim Myers, and Robert Russler, are all still really close. Like they're all
Yeah.
still even like. Robert and Kim stuck by Mark throughout that whole backlash and all of that. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was lovely to see them all together on the Scream Queen documentary. And it's good to see us all doing cons and stuff together.
And there is a chemistry between them.
Yeah.
I think. I actually think the acting in this film is very good.
Yeah.
And that together they do have a good chemistry. They're not always in scenes together, but no, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problems with this movie have nothing to do with the actors.
None.
Speaking of chemistry, after getting into a homoerotic fight with Grady during gym class, where Jesse gets his trousers pulled down, and we get a good flash of Matt Patton's ass.
That was a good moment.
Coach Schneider has him stay after class, and they become friends. Yeah, this scene, like seriously, Jack Shoulder sat behind a camera and watched this and went out there in interviews and said, "No, I had no idea."
Right, again, I asked, you had no idea? What did you think you were? What? I just.
Yeah. Like, I mean, when I eventually watched it in full for the first time, this is my first moment. I was like, "Oh, what is this?"
One of them is lying. They may both be lying. That's pretty. That could be very real. One of them is definitely lying. It's either the director or the writer. One of them is lying.
I think the
They
writer
have to be.
did say that it was obviously meant to be subtext, but I think Jack Shoulder,
Turned it into way more.
I think he maybe got a little muddled about what should be subtext and what shouldn't be, and just threw everything into it.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs to go back to school and learn the definition of subtext.
Yeah.
As I said, this is not this is text.
Yeah, and that brings me to the dialogue for this scene as well. Exact dialogue from the film. First, we get assume the position, and then it's, how long do you think he'll keep us out here? It could be all night. This guy gets his rocks off like this. He hangs out at all the queer S&M joints downtown. He likes pretty boys like you.
Boom! Mic drop. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
My thing was, strangely, it didn't feel like Grady was disgusted or repulsed by this.
No.
It was kind of just a little tidbit, just like, hey, here's the tea.
Yeah.
Especially
he didn't
for
seem
the
to be judging it.
Yeah.
right, especially for the 80s. Grady comes off as like the friend every gay boy needed to have.
Yeah.
The straight man boyfriend that's not a boyfriend that every gay boy needed to have, because he's not offended by anything. He might be a little weird, like, what is going on here? I don't understand. But like, he's never he's never aggressive towards Jesse. He's never like, bro, what's going on? Why are you hitting on me? But like, yeah, I think especially for 1985.
Yes. Oh my god, if this was any other film in 1985, he'd have said the F slur at least twice.
At least.
Like,
Yeah.
at least.
Can we just discuss Kerry, please?
Kerry.
I'm not enjoying this Kerry erasure. Boy crazy.
Yeah.
Kerry.
Yeah.
She asks Lisa, so you getting any lease?
Yeah.
And then says nice ass.
She does say nice ass.
But she's not like nice ass. Nice ass. She's like hypnotized by Mark Patton's butt cheeks.
She and I would be best friends. But girl, come sit by me. We gotta talk.
Well, Grady provides some Nancy Thompson exposition in the locker room whilst he and Jesse are getting changed. He says that she went crazy because her mum locked her inside and she watched her boyfriend get butchered across the street. So yes,
That's
Nancy
Thompson. What we call him, butchered, I guess. Sucked into your mattress and geysered out.
But no mention of anyone else.
No mention of anyone else.
No mention of Tina.
There is one mention of Tina.
Is there?
Where they're reading the diaries, like, oh, Tina's dead.
Oh yeah. What the thing is though, this is crazy Nancy Thompson who went insane.
Yeah.
The Nancy Thompson we then get in Dream Warriors is successful psychiatrist, the pill popper, but it's successful psychiatrist Nancy Thompson
right,
who serves Grey Streak. Whereas in this film, it's like, oh, she went loopy. She went somewhere else. She's been locked up ever since.
Right. And I do think they were definitely trying to like pull away from this movie a lot, obviously. But I will say too, and it's been a minute since I've watched 3, so I could be way off here, or I could be making this up in my head. But I do think she has some dialogue in that film where she talks about how she was committed and like she was in a similar situation to what these kids were in.
Oh yeah, I think you're right actually.
Yeah.
So I think that they do kind of allude to that she has a mental health past that we just don't talk about.
Well, do you know in your research, and I don't know if it's out there or not, was there ever the intention of the sequel being about Nancy Thompson?
She was never offered a chance to return.
It's called Freddy's Revenge.
Yeah.
That title must have come up. I don't know. It makes no sense.
No.
Yeah, and she was as big a part of that first film as Freddy.
Yeah.
You know, she was iconic and she should have came back. But No, apparently they can't even recall if there were any discussions about it in New Line back then. That she just wasn't asked.
Was Heather Langenkamp in just the 10 of us at that point?
Potentially,
Maybe.
potentially. But yeah, it's so strange. I mean, kind of glad because I mean we got this film and it makes her return in Dream Warriors even better. But yeah, it makes you wonder again how different things would have been if she was
Right.
in this.
And I don't necessarily think I need Nancy in this movie, but I need to have like maybe Jesse was her cousin, some connection.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. Just nothing.
It is confusing because it's never really given a reason why it was Jesse, because his parents have moved from out of town, so they would never have been part of, the parents that burnt him alive.
Right. Or
So,
if there was some connection to, yeah, like I guess he's on Elm Street and maybe his revenge is on the community and that's why he's trying to like come into the real world and kill everybody. But it's like, it's just not reading as revenge to me. Like,
No. And
if anything, it's like a haunted house thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like Freddy sort of died in that house when Nancy defeated him, and so he's come back to haunt that house. That's the only real connection I get there. Because why Jesse?
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
but lesbian Nancy Thompson would have been
that
amazing.
would have been amazing, yeah.
It would have explained why she never put out for Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Before Johnny Depp went out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Where he's at.
1984 Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that was a very different Johnny Depp though. Who we
yes.
There is some dialogue with Nancy coming up from her journal that I cannot wait to discuss because it makes you question if the writer of this film even watched the first.
That's very true. That is very
but
true.
Before we get to that point, Jesse has another nightmare. He watches Freddy putting something in the boiler before running into him in the hallway, and the first thing Freddy says is, "Daddy can't help you now." He starts fucking caressing his face with his finger knives, and he says, "I need you, Jesse. We've got special work to do here, you and me. You've got the body, and I've got the brains." He then pulls his skin back from his head, not his foreskin.
Excuse me.
And you didn't know, and you didn't know, and you didn't know, and you what? You didn't know what?
Like,
I just
seriously, like they suggested initially, another bit of trivia. They suggested that Freddy puts the blade in his mouth, and Mark Patton was like, "No, absolutely not." Like. They wanted it to be even gayer.
But you didn't know. I just.
And also, is he quoting a Pet Shop Boys song?
Maybe,
I got the brains. Let's make lots of money. That makes it even gayer.
But this is iconic though. Freddy like pulling his skin back to show his brains. It's like, oh my god, yes. It's lit brilliantly. What? What about me?
Well, you've ruined it now.
Because I compared it to his foreskin.
You compared it to his foreskin.
I'm making it even gayer. But it's such a good scene. And then it's followed by a completely nonsensical scene. Jesse falls asleep in biology class the next day and has a snake appear next to him. What? What's it there for?
I think maybe they're trying to have an allusion to the first movie with Nancy falling asleep in class and seeing Tina being dragged around like a rag doll. Maybe, but that's a stretch.
But then the suggestion is that Grady put the snake on him.
Who suggests that?
The way he's laughing at him.
Oh,
like looking and laughing like it's a prank.
I thought it was having a cute moment.
No, but if this snake had appeared out of thin air whilst he was asleep, do you not think people would have been shocked rather than laughing at him like it was a prank? I feel like they were bluffing and they were going to do the Nancy Thompson moment where she freaks out in class, but it was a red herring because it was a prank by Grady.
Right. But also, where are these
Britney
teachers?
Spears.
Yeah,
Where are the teachers here? Like,
I know.
what?
Yeah,
You just letting people bring live snakes into your classroom
Yeah.
and put them on people? Like,
But the snake
what are
was
you
in the
doing?
tank behind Jesse.
was it?
Yeah,
I've
Oh,
never noticed
so the
that.
insinuation is that Grady snuck over to the other side of the room, grabbed this giant snake out of the
Bit elaborate.
tank, put it around Jesse without the teacher noticing, so that then Jesse gets into trouble when he screams with a giant snake around him. And
Right.
that scene.
Wow.
That's
I mean, all I've got to say about that is Lynn Shay would never.
Lynn Shay would
Mm.
never. Lynn Shay would have had that snake.
She would
Out
have
the
wrapped it
window,
around her.
she
She
would
started
have-
performing "I'm a Slave for You."
She would-
Like,
Yes, I need that. No, I need that moment.
yeah, the teacher says, "If you want to play with animals, Mr. Walsh, join the circus." And then that's it. That's the scene.
They're the only place to play with animals.
Yeah, the
Circus.
circus.
The only place. No zoos,
Only place.
no safaris, no forests, your front yard. Nope.
No pet shops.
That's right.
None. Where did you get your snake from?
Your friend's house. I don't know.
We have an iconic scene incoming. Ken tells Jesse to clean his room, which has a "No out of town chick" sign on the door.
Boom.
What's an out of
Also,
town
just say
chick?
no chicks.
No chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently the production designer was gay. So he put
Obviously.
little things in there as like little Easter eggs and such, but it just added to everything else that was going on.
He knew. He knew.
Yeah, like he has a board game called Probe in his wardrobe.
It doesn't. Wait. Doesn't he have a poster of like somebody in his room?
He does.
that
I
something
know
else?
this. I think it was Simple Minds he had. There was
Was it
another one
Simple
though.
Minds?
He did have a
Mm.
Simple Minds poster. There was someone else.
Yeah.
Grady has more posters.
Yeah, Grady has Tina Turner.
Good.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Rest in legacy. Love her. Yes.
Yeah.
Simply the best. Anyways, I'm probably making it up, but yeah, no, he knew. And he was like telling the director and the writer, like, yeah, no, this is
Yeah.
it. No one will understand. It's all subtext.
Well, Jesse goes to his room. He puts on "Touch Me All Night Long" by Wish and Fonda Rae. He puts some clothes in his drawer and he's like, "How do you like that, Dad?" And then he closes
daddy
his sock
issues.
he closes his sock drawer with his ass, and he just
And I was never the same.
the greatest dance of all time. It's
That's
just
the greatest dance in a horror film. Absolutely. Granted, the bar's not high for that. I mean, what's your other options? Like prom night?
Crispin Glover.
Oh. But yes, I love this scene.
If we're going for silly dances, I mean, the best dance in a horror film is Grace Jones in Vamp.
I mean,
Oh, right.
technically,
I'm
yes.
going like fun in your room dance, not like
Yeah, not
watch
like
BBC.
actual dancing.
full on production.
Yeah.
right.
My apologies for wanting a bit of skill in my dances. I do apologize.
There is skill in this dance. I mean,
He's on beat.
yeah.
Number one, I don't understand is how do you like that, Dad? Well, he's gonna like it because he's told you to clean your room. You put your socks in. Like, yeah, well done. Like,
But
you're
you
not getting
know-
back at your dad by putting your socks in the drawer. How do you like that,
But
Dad?
when you're a
did
teenager,
exactly what I
you're a
asked you.
teenager, everything seems like a rebellion. Like when you're
Yeah.
a teenager, you're like, "Yeah, Mom, I made an A. Ha! I showed you I can put my socks in a drawer. Fuck you, Dad."
Scrub the toilet.
Yeah, next I'm gonna mop the floor.
This is, of course, a homage to Risky Business, and Mark Patton was just so reluctant to do the scene, so embarrassed by it. But again, he says that everything in this film was scripted, everything he does. So
Yeah.
again,
I think that part of that probably comes from his fear of his closetedness.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's so terrifying to be happy when you're in the closet, which is so
Mhm.
sad to those people that are in the closet. I love and support everyone
Yeah.
on your journey of wherever you're at, but there's just such fear of, and I'm talking from my own experience of being happy and being just like, yeah, shaking your ass if you want to shake your ass, or closing your drawer with your ass if you want to. Like, I think that comes from his own trauma of
Definitely.
being closeted in the cinema world in the 1980s, which, shall we talk about the fact that AIDS was at its
Yes.
height at this point, could also add to some of this text that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I don't think that's any coincidence. I feel like that was absolutely a massive part of why the script went in the direction that it did.
Yeah. I think, speaking from personal experience, and you may be able to relate, there's moments growing up where I very conscious of coming across as camp. The way
Absolutely.
I say something, or the way I walk, or the way I hold something. And for a closeted actor to have to act out this very camp dance, it must have been quite daunting.
Yeah.
Number one, because, it's stupid. It is stupid. And number two, because, it may make him seem camper or gayer than he wanted to be perceived as an actor.
Absolutely. And I think that especially adding in the fact that he did not have a supportive production team in the creative team of this film adds to that.
Yeah.
They're telling him this whole time, oh, this character is straight. I'm sure they're telling him so straight. But yet he's like, but why are you having me do this very obviously gay shit? Like in the last scene we talked about, them wanting Freddy to put his knife in his mouth. Like,
Yeah.
why, if you want me to do this, then why are you doing this? It just doesn't make sense. And I absolutely agree with you. I think that is a lot of his, and probably the way he remembers this scene too, whereas we remember it completely different, because it's something we could watch in our rooms and by ourselves and be like, oh yeah, that's me, whereas he had to live it, and he couldn't secretly enjoy it. And I hate that for him, but yeah.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Lisa comes to visit Jesse.
Unfortunately,
well, I'm just disappointed she didn't join in. She didn't join in. Cheryl didn't join in.
She might join in, and they might have had a little dance around. That song, by the way, I only knew the Kathy Dennis version. I didn't realize it was older than the Kathy Dennis version.
Yeah, absolute top tier banger.
Just like mentioning Kathy Dennis. Throw the name out there. Anyone know? If you know, you know.
Lisa helps Jesse tidy his room. They discover some
such a supportive friend. That's so nice. She's a nice girl.
They discover some jock itch spray. And Nancy Thompson's diary, detailing her nightmares, which are strikingly similar to Jesse's. But that's not the only thing it details. Lisa gives us a dramatic reading of this high-class erotic diary, which could be part of 50 Shades of Grey. This is filthy stuff right here. Lisa, sometimes when I'm lying in bed, I can see Glenn in the window across the way, getting ready for bed. His body is slim and smooth, and I know I shouldn't watch him, but that part of me that wants him forces me to. That's when I weaken. That's when I want to go to him. Bitch, Nancy Thompson didn't speak like that.
No.
No teenager writes like that.
No.
No teenager writes like
Nancy
that.
Thompson, we know.
I wish she spoke like that. I mean, I'd be living for it.
Nancy Thompson was the wholesome, virginal, final girl.
Well, and I get that she like plays with sexuality, sure, but like no teenager's gonna write like that. If she is writing about that kind of experience, it would be something like, I was sitting in my bed and I saw I saw him across the street and he had his shirt off and he looked really cute, but I didn't really know what to do with myself. Like, not like, and he rolled his arms up and caressed his, like, no, no teenage girl is a Harlequin novel. Like,
yeah, like Jane Austen. Does 50 Shades of Grey.
Jane Austen without the class. Jane Austen had class.
Also, over the last 5 years, the only thing Nancy Thompson has left in that house is her diary. Like, that is it.
And is that is that jock itch? Is that hers or
is that hers?
It could be. It's John Saxon's.
Yeah. Well, Jesse reads a bit of this top erotic novel as well, and he's like, March 15th, he comes to me at night, horrible, ugly, dirty, under the sheets with me.
That's Johnny Depp now.
Accurate. Accurate. Mark Patton was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
He was Doctor Who. He is Doctor Who. That's what it is.
He continues tearing at my nightgown with his steel claws. His name is Fred, and he keeps trying to take me to the boiler room. He wants to kill me. And then the scene like quickly ends, and like, oh well, that got dark fast. Never mind.
Also, didn't Nancy always call him Freddy? I don't remember ever calling him Fred.
Yeah, and she never wore a nightgown. She wore pajamas.
Yeah,
Tina wore the nightgown.
Yes, and the mom and the drunk mom. I think she wore.
Yes, that's true. Oh my god, maybe it's her
diary.
Oh
my god,
she was watching Glenn.
It's Marge's diary. Oh, I knew it.
She was watching Johnny Depp that whole time.
Wow.
Except no, if it were her diary, like halfway through it would become like
Wait, I can't read this next part.
It's all gibberish. It's all squiggled.
Jesse wakes up in the middle of the night with various objects in his room melting. He goes down to the boiler room where he finds Freddy's glove inside the boiler where he left it. And Freddy tells him to put it on, try it on for size, and to kill for him.
And you didn't know. And you didn't know.
And then he disappears. So it's kind of like, okay, again, you know, going against the logic of the first film. Then it's the next day. So it's kind of like he doesn't have his big moment screaming, waking up. He tells Lisa about it. Like, no filter there. It's just like, yeah, I am having fucking weirdest dreams. And yeah, he never hides anything from her, which is nice to see that trust.
And Lisa thinks he must be gay, psychic. Sorry, I get those mixed up.
All gays are psychic.
He must have some sort of psychic ability.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Like, psychic abilities with what? Just Nancy Thompson? He's not to be seen. Very confusing. But he always spills the tea to Lisa.
He does.
But can't bring himself to spill it to Grady. Can he?
Well, he does say to him in the next scene, hey, Grady, do you remember your dreams?
Yes.
And Grady replies, only the wet ones.
Only the wet ones. And Jesse secretly thinks, are they about me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kerry asks Lisa about her upcoming party, and Lisa promises her dad won't be in charge of the music this time, because last time he just played Benny Goodman records all night.
Who?
Benny Goodman. You don't know Benny Goodman?
No, I don't think it translates. Like Glenn.
In the next scene, we get a conversation in the locker room where Grady says, Schneider's got a stick up his ass today. And Jesse says, Schneider's always got a stick up his ass. And he's there behind them.
Oh, no.
And you didn't know. And you didn't know. You might as well say he's got a dildo up his ass or something. Like, he's always got a dildo up his ass.
He just starts fucking him in the locker room. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, we had no idea.
That's the porn parody. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's dickening.
In brackets, we didn't know. In a bizarre series of events, the Walsh house reaches 97 degrees, which causes the spontaneous combustion of their pet birds after they attack the family.
Oh, no.
I'm not doing it justice there. I swear to you, this scene is insane.
The birds go ape shit around
Yeah.
the room, and no, one of them kills the other one, doesn't it?
Does it?
Then goes absolute ape shit around the room,
Yeah.
and then just explodes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because apparently that's what Freddy does now.
And then after that happens, Jesse's dad, again, we haven't spoken enough about this piece of shit. Like, he is awful. He accuses him of setting up with firecrackers and a cherry bomb. You just watch this happen. You just watch these birds explode on their own. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
He blames a gas leak to begin with, doesn't he? Which I do a lot, actually. And then blames Jesse, who managed to get a cherry bomb in the bird's mouth. I don't know. What's a cherry bomb?
They're like little. I've never seen one in person. I've only seen them on movies, but they're like round bombs. They look like they have a stem, so they look like cherries. That's why they're called cherry bombs.
Oh, I didn't know the song. Well, I do.
Yeah, that's what happened. He kept playing the Runaways to the Birds, and then they just went insane.
Right.
And just
I don't know if anyone has ever used one. I just have seen it in movies.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that would be banned in school so quickly here. Everything used to get banned, didn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Firecrackers. I mean, the whole idea that he thinks that he set this up is just so silly. I don't even know why that would be included in the script. A character can't be that stupid.
He's just an old stiff, isn't he? That's how he's
Yeah.
coming across. I do feel like, and this is no shade to the actors, but I do feel like his parents are maybe a little older. To have kids, so like, and particularly his sister, who seems quite young. I mean, Hope Lang was in Peyton Place, Oscar nominated in the 50s, like 30 years before, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of an old stiff, Jesse wakes up and goes to Don's place, a gay bar. He's caught by Schneider in full S&M gear, ordering a drink from bartender Robert Shea, who's also in full S&M gear. You know, Bob Shea.
as you do.
The producer, who
Right.
claimed to have no idea this is a gay film. Now, this
None.
guy, he wanted to play Grady's dad originally, and the director was like, absolutely not. No, you're not a fucking actor. You're not playing a scene that involves that much emotion. And he's like, I'll give you this role. Go and get an outfit from this S&M shop. And he took his 2 kids there to go and grab this outfit. He took them into a shop with all this S&M gear. And he didn't know.
No.
And he brought his kids. Listen, I don't understand this whole thing about let's worry about kids with gay people. It's like,
Oh, I know.
You are a straight man, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Brought your children to an S&M shop.
But drag queens are the problem.
Right. Right. Story hours of drag queens.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like this scene should have become a Frankie Goes to Hollywood music video.
It should have.
I would have enjoyed that.
Um
Was this before Body Double? No, it was after Body Double.
After Body Double.
After Body Double.
Well, Schneider takes him back to the school. Why the school is open at this time of night, who knows? And I think this is a good point to discuss how sketchy Schneider is. Because
absolutely.
they definitely didn't do background checks on this guy when they hired him for the school.
No.
It sounds like you're talking about the Nickelodeon guy. Just, you know, the Dan Schneider. That's all that shit come out about him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with
Yeah.
was that Jimmy? No.
This is Zoe 101.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a little bit. That was after my time, so as a child. But yeah, no, he like favored Ariana Grande. That's who it was.
Oh yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and like possibly did some questionable things with her. Yeah, or to her, or with her in mind. I don't know.
Wow.
But yes,
Yeah.
creepy Schneiders, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't know anyone with that surname, so I think I'm allowed to say. Maybe it's the surname gives creeps.
Well,
I only know one, and she's a female, and she's really cool.
Oh,
So,
okay.
female Schneiders,
Yeah.
male Schneiders.
Not so great.
No. He sends Jesse to the showers. And once he does this, tennis rackets start ripping open, balls start flying, and Schneider is attacked by an unseen force that drags him to the shower using jump ropes. Schneider is tied to the shower, stripped naked, and whipped with a towel.
But they didn't know.
I remember this randomly being on one Christmas Eve. And I turned it on this scene, and this is at the point where I hadn't watched it in full yet.
Excuse me, you wanted to
Turn it on, not me. I just turned on TV, and this scene was on, and I was like, same film that I started watching, and that's when I knew I had to watch it in full.
This is where it confuses me, particularly with the rules of the first film. Is this a dream? Is this not a dream?
Yeah, because the whole idea of him taking him to the school at this time of night is so weird.
It is so weird.
Well, and don't they like? Yeah, no. At the end of the scene, sorry to skip a little bit ahead, but like they show Jesse with the glove on,
Yeah.
as if Jesse did this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's the whole idea. I think they're trying to say he's getting possessed by him, and he's doing this. But...
Yeah, and he's like a high school kid in his pajamas in the middle of the night getting served a drink in a bar.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. Or
Yeah.
does it? Or does it? Is
I was not a teenager in the I was not a teenager in the 80s. I will say, as a teenager in the early aughts, that would not have happened. At least, well, not in public. That would not have happened behind gross doors. But yeah, it doesn't make a lot of logic because there's also people around with no one. Like, let me help this child.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It is a bit confusing because it gets very muddled in its Nightmare on Elm Street lore.
Yeah,
it gets muddled in its own ideology, though. Like, what is going on? Is this real? Is it not real? I don't think the filmmakers knew anything. They clearly didn't know it was queer. They didn't know if it was real. They didn't know. What did they know? What did they know?
Well, Jesse vanishes into the steam, and then Freddy emerges, and then he kills Schneider by slashing his back. And then Jesse is there with the glove on, screaming at his hand. And it's very much like, okay, that happened. And then
he's definitely giving Glory Hole energy, by the way.
Glory Hole energy?
Yeah, the way that he's like pressed up against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And just like looking limp.
I thought you meant Mike Patton screaming at his hand.
No,
I was like, what?
I mean, there could be some weird glory holes out there. I don't know.
He's escorted home by police. You never see how he's found, but apparently he was on the road, just naked, walking along. And of course, because it's the 80s, the first thing his dad goes to is, "Are you on drugs?"
I'd probably go to that as well, though, to be fair. If somebody randomly appeared like naked in the street, somebody who I'd known for many years to not act in that way, I would probably go to drugs first of all. Not, are you being possessed by Freddy Krueger? Are you gay? I suppose I would now. I'm like, are you gay?
Gay people
keep in mind, though, this town knows about Freddy. Like, this is the town where all that shit happened. Did you like? That's the lack of connective tissue between these movies does not help it, because it's like, did you just forget about the dude that got sucked into his mattress and blood spurted everywhere? Did you forget about the dude that was the girl that was drugged around her whole room? Like, this isn't that far like apart. So how the fuck did you forget all these other weird shit that's a lot of weird shit happens in the street. A lot of weird shit.
Yeah, exactly this. And there's the whole I know there's the scene where the dad is like, well, I may have known a thing or two. Well, but then you're the one who's accusing him of being on drugs. So if anything, you're the character who should know something sketchy is going on here. Like,
does he actually accuse him of being on drugs?
Yeah.
Because what he says is, what are you taking?
What are you taking? Where are you getting it from?
Who are you getting it from? Which might not mean drugs.
Oh, it's the 80s. It's definitely drugs.
Oh, okay. Could have been.
Yeah, I read it as drugs too.
Not cock.
Again, they didn't know. They didn't know.
No. What are you taking, son?
Yeah, he's informed the next day.
8 inches.
He's informed the next day that by Grady that Schneider was murdered in the shower. And that night, Jesse finds Freddy's glove moving in his drawer, and Freddy tells him to kill for him again. He goes to his sister's room where she's performing the classic Freddy nursery rhyme by the Jump Rope Girls. And that just happens. And we move on.
Yeah. Yeah, is his sister, is that the last time we see his sister?
No. He confronts his dad about what happened with Nancy there the next day. Cheryl is gagged. And the sister's like, well, I'm scared now. And that's the last time we see her.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, because he goes into her room. Yeah, we see her again after this.
To try and kill her. Yeah. Okay.
But they're interrupted by the toaster setting on fire despite them being plugged in. Oh, well, it's got to be drugs. Did you put a firecracker in there?
Cherry bombs.
Lisa takes Jesse to an abandoned factory where Freddy Krueger apparently worked. But they find nothing there except a rat in an old locker.
Yeah, I thought Freddy Krueger was the caretaker in a school, and the boiler room was part of the school.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I assumed as well.
But he apparently just worked in a factory.
This giant abandoned factory where anyone can just go in and mess around despite it being very dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
As you do.
2 teenagers just messing around in this giant factory.
And then it's that night when he finds himself in his sister's room with Freddy's glove on. So he's
sorry, I just read my notes here. It's like, wasn't that scene completely pointless?
Yeah.
Like they just go there to then be like, oh, he's not here. Okay, bye.
Like, he's not home. Guess I'll try back later.
He finds himself trying to murder his sister. So he takes some stout. Yes, you heard right. Stout. Stop. STAUP.
Oh.
It's the pills he takes.
Does he not have a coffee pot under the bed?
No, sadly not. Grady asks Jesse in the school canteen if he wants to go out and grab a pizza and watch a movie sometime. And Kerry asks Grady if he's coming to Lisa's party, but he says he can't because he's grounded. And it's kind of like, oh, making a move on Jesse here and blowing off.
Well, he's
Kerry.
grounded for Kerry, but he's not grounded for Jesse.
Yes.
Poor Kerry.
Right.
Another straight white girl.
Lucky Jesse.
Heart being broken by a gay guy. I didn't actually. Clearly, I wasn't attractive enough.
You didn't break a girl's heart?
I didn't break any straight girls' hearts.
Oh, good for you.
Did you?
I mean, I don't think I broke their hearts, but I did have to dump a girl because I was gay.
Oh.
But it wasn't really a relationship. It was very much like, hey, look, mum and dad, I'm dating a girl. I'm definitely straight.
She is second cousin.
Oh, fuck you. No. It's the shout out to any of the straight girls that went on a date with me. I apologize. If you're listening.
It's all right, they're probably gay now too.
It's the following night and Lisa's pool party is in full swing.
Yes.
The mum's getting the dad out of the way. Jesse's at the party.
How does she get him out of the way?
I offer him a good time upstairs.
She puts out. That's a real queen there.
That's how you do it.
I know how to get this party swinging. Wait, Let's go have a let's go get railed whilst have a party does.
While teenagers party below.
Jesse's at the party, and Lisa awkwardly kisses him in the cabana.
He says that he wants to leave because he's ruining the party for everyone. Like,
Yeah.
you're just getting changed. You're not even interacting with anyone. It's fine.
Yeah, the rest of the kids at the party put on Whisper to a Scream by Bobby O, whilst Jesse starts kissing Lisa's chest, which causes him to grow an extra long tongue, and he leaves in a panic. So this scene...
Is that how it happened?
That's how it happened with me.
And they didn't know. And they
They
didn't
didn't
know.
know. They didn't know. Do we feel bad for Lisa? Because it's so difficult. I like Lisa. I feel like she should have noticed something with Jesse and maybe put it out there. Like, is this something you want to tell me? Like, you know?
Yeah, I don't necessarily feel bad for her, but I like her. I just don't feel bad
Yeah.
for her. I'm like, okay, your interest turns out to be gay.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like that scene in Love, Simon, where the girl that he breaks the heart of says, you know, I completely understand what you're going through, but I'm a human being too. You know, you don't string me along like this.
Yeah.
I have feelings. I'm allowed to be upset by this. I do understand your coming out story, but you know, her feelings are hurt too. She's invested a lot in this.
Yeah.
She helped him tidy his room, for fuck's sake. You don't just do that for anyone.
Well, and to be fair though, Jesse and Lisa are not as far as I can remember, are not actually dating.
No, I didn't get that
suppose
impression.
not.
Yeah.
They don't have the label of boyfriend girlfriend.
No.
So I don't think he's leading her on, other than I'm trying to figure this out. Let me lick on your chest a little bit. Oh shit, this is not right. Let me run to my male best friend.
Maybe that's a little leading her on. You don't just lick everyone's chest. I mean,
I mean, I've been drunk many times, you know, so
if it was a tequila shot off the chest, maybe you could understand.
He goes to Grady's house instead, confesses to killing Schneider, and tells him that there's something inside of him. And to which Grady says, yeah, and she's female, and she's waiting for you in the cabana, and you want to sleep with me. Yes.
And they didn't know. And they didn't know.
That is
favorite lines in the show though. I love that.
Yeah.
I love those lines.
Oh my god. Amazing. Like, that guy sat there and wrote that. That guy sat there, he directed that scene. And and he thought that was just straight behavior.
As I said, somebody's lying.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Grady's bed sheets.
Yeah.
What are we thinking?
Leather.
Kind of double-sided. The underside is a very 80s graphic design. Yeah. But the top side is, I don't know if it's leather. I don't know if it's vinyl. It's black. I mean, it's easy wipe, I'm assuming. But ew, like, why is it? It's disgusting.
I mean, this was also the time of waterbeds. So,
Yeah.
You know.
No wonder he gets so sweaty at night. Wearing leather bed sheets.
Jesse instructs Grady to watch him as he sleeps and to stop him if he tries to leave.
Which, if we remember, that is the Johnny Depp role in the first film.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's pretty much word for word as well, because he even does the whole don't fall asleep. And it's like, okay.
And what does he do?
He falls asleep. And
does he actually fall asleep?
He does, yeah. Well, I mean,
does Grady fall asleep?
Grady turns over, and the next minute, shit's going down. So I think he falls asleep.
Oh, he doesn't believe him, so makes he actually just falls. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna fall. It's not even an accident.
Yeah. Next scene.
How early is this, by the way? Because the party's still going.
I know.
Lisa's mum's still getting a good scene too. So early.
The next scene, the practical effects are phenomenal. Like even in 2023, this looks amazing.
Yes.
Freddy emerges from Jesse's body and kills Grady by slashing through his chest. And when I say emerges, like if anyone hasn't seen this, like his finger knives literally come out of his hands, his sweat is coming through his arms, he slices his chest open, his head comes out of it, and it's like, oh my god, this is top tier Freddy Krueger.
I love the visual of Freddy's eye in Jesse's
in his
mouth.
Yeah.
I love that visual. Yeah, it's a really cool special effect.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Agreed.
It looks disgusting in the best way possible, you know. It's what we want from a film like this. And
still another really sweaty scene as well.
Well, yeah.
He's like, he's glistening
in his short shorts.
Lots of short shorts in this film.
Listen, I am not complaining.
No.
Freddy changes back to Jesse, who finds himself looking at Freddy's laughing reflection in Grady's mirror. He throws the glove at the mirror and flees before his parents enter the room. He goes back to Lisa and tells her what's going on. He says, he's inside me, Fred Krueger. He's inside me, and he wants to take me again.
And you didn't know.
Like, come on, seriously. And then the pool starts to heat up. The sausages on the barbecue set on fire. The beers open themselves, and Freddy is back. He transforms again. Lisa's got all the knowledge she needs from Nancy's diary. She knows that his terrors giving Freddy his strength. But I don't recall Freddy bursting out of Nancy Thompson. But there we go.
True.
But yeah, Freddy locks Lisa's parents in their bedroom and has a showdown with Lisa, and she puts up a fucking fight.
She's into survival.
She is.
Lisa is a badass.
She really is, running around looking like Meryl Streep fighting Freddy Krueger. That is high camp, and I'm here for it.
Poor Kim Myers during this though, because she goes from dry to a sweaty mess in the matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And then there's this close-up of her when she's having a showdown with Freddy, where it looks like they've just thrown a drink in her face, and it's meant to be sweat, but she's just dripping.
Yeah.
Incredibly unflattering. It makes her hair look like really weird at the front.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, we get it. It's a sweaty film. We get it. Doesn't mean she needs to look like she's bloody soaking wet.
Well, he attacks her, but he can't kill her because of Jesse's influence. So he goes outside and instead begins to slaughter the party goers.
Yeah, it's a nice visual where the what would you even call it? Like burner behind him. So that sort of shoots out fire, and he says, "You're all my children now," which looked great in the trailer. In the context of the film, like, what does that even mean?
I don't even care. It's so cool. It's
it is
God,
super cool.
Yeah.
And we've got the NECA, haven't we?
Yeah,
that's what we've got for the NECA. That's what we chose because it's a really cool visual. But you're all my children now. What is okay?
What? I suppose he's a child killer, so it does make sense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
right.
He's already murdered a bunch of them. One of them offers to help him, and he's like, "Help yourself, fucker." But yeah, it's such a cool scene. Like, regardless of what it means, it's just like Robert Englund delivering that line with that visual. It's like, okay.
Robert Englund truly knows how to walk that line between camp and creepy and scary, but also still fun.
Yes.
Better than anyone I know.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why, again, this is why the remake fell flat because, Jackie Earle Haley, great actor, but that role, I can't picture anyone else in that role. Like, he made it his own. And
Agreed.
He'll always be Freddy Krueger. You know, I'm sure there's someone out there who will do a wonderful job and really surprise me whenever they remake it again. But you know, for now, it's Robert Englund's role, and it really shows. He takes it so seriously. Like in all the documentaries and so on, he's like, "Oh, well, I've done this research. I did this character study and everything." It's like, "Oh my god, you sound a little ridiculous in the documentary when you're doing so much work for this role." But then when you see the payoff, it's like, okay, all that effort, it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, because the franchise wouldn't exist without Robert Englund
No.
as Freddy Krueger.
No.
I genuinely don't think the first film, second for any of the films would have been a success without Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Lisa's father emerges with a shotgun, but Lisa stops him from shooting Freddy, who escapes in a ball of flame. So she drives to the
He
factory.
escapes like Homer Simpson when he like, goes into the hedges. More fire.
Yeah, I always think of the Wicked Witch of the West, Wizard of Oz. When he's
Yeah.
like, he just goes away.
I think that was very much part of the influence for this, because I mean they were going for the whole witchy look with him as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So she goes to the factory. She starts seeing.
I'm sorry.
What?
That'll make the film less gay. The Wizard of Oz references.
They didn't know.
He goes to Lisa goes to the factory, and there's dogs there with human faces on. There's maggots coming from her leg. An evil-looking cat eating a rat. Like all the stuff of nightmares, and it's still not quite clear if she's actually having a nightmare or not. She confronts Freddy and pleads with Jesse to fight Freddy, but Freddy's hold is too strong. But when she
Freddy's what?
hold
Oh,
his when she confesses her love for Jesse and she kisses Freddy with the power of the heterosexuals, Jesse begins to fight back. Freddy bursts, and Jesse's back.
That's all he needed. The love of a good woman.
Yeah, the end is where I don't like this movie. I mean, there's other problems before this, but it's like, really? I mean, I get it. It's 1985, but still.
Yeah, it's kind of like we embrace the queer community, we embrace this entire film, but when it comes to this scene, we just look away for a few seconds. And then it's just back to normal again after. How did we get there? Because it's kind of like when you kind of reshape the allegories to fit it in a way that can be embraced, it's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense, it works, internalized homophobia, so on and so on. But then it comes to this scene, and there's no other way to read it other than heteronormal, a heteronormal lifestyle saves it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no other way of reading that.
Great visual of melty Freddy Krueger though.
Yeah,
I loved that visual. Again, the effects are great in this film. What I would like to have seen, and it's another Simpsons reference, not my only references, but do you remember when they go to the is it steel mill?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the gay episode of The Simpsons, and they're like, "Oh, look at these manly men," because he's trying to make Bart manly. And then Everybody Dance Now starts, and they all rip off their shirts and start. I'd like to have seen that.
Yes.
With Lisa and Jesse dancing along with some missile men in the background.
But spoiler alert, the kiss of straight, it doesn't work. Because later, as Jesse, Lisa, and Kerry are all taking the bus to school, Jesse starts noticing similarities to his original nightmare and starts panicking. And Lisa calms him down. Kerry's like, it's all over. But then Freddy's fucking claw bursts through her chest and he drives into the field. Yeah. And that's the end of the film. It's kind of like she saved him briefly.
Well, it's a rehash of the first film, isn't it?
Right.
With the fake out ending.
Yeah. You think everything is good and calm, and then no, it's not.
Yes. But that is A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2: Freddy's Revenge.
It is. It's got its moments, got its dull moments. Yeah, I had a fun time. Well, it's Nightmare on Elm Street, isn't it? You could slap Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger on any old shit, and I'd still watch it. But I enjoyed this one. It's not the worst sequel.
No, I think it's
easily.
yeah. I always have a lot of fun with this film. I really love it. I could watch it whenever, and I wouldn't get bored of it. You know, I fully love it as a queer classic now. I love that it's been taken in, especially means Mark Patton had such a rough time after the release. It's nice to see some good come of it now, despite that questionable the kiss of life from a straight girl thing. You know, it's yeah.
It was 1985.
I'm glad it's got a new cult following.
Yeah.
But I do agree, because I read somewhere that Robert Englund said recently, like within the past 5 years or so, that he would be interested. This is the only Nightmare movie that he would be interested in watching a reboot of that truly like leaned into the queerness and didn't have that bullshit ending. And I would be down for that. 100%.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
And that could be a fun, like, because I get Robert Englund can't play this role forever, obviously, but that would be a fun way to introduce a new big bad to a Nightmare series, a new Nightmare on Elm Street series. That could be fun, like a passing of the mantle situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see it.
Who would you cast as Freddy Krueger now then?
I suppose the obvious one is Kevin Bacon, because that's a big fan theory, is that it's going to be Kevin Bacon when he's recasting, and I can see that working.
Okay.
As close as possible to Robert Englund, but I'd like to just see him come back for a recall.
Who would play Jesse? Gay high schooler Jesse. Ben Platt.
You could do Noah Galvin. Could be a fun choice. Galvin. His last name. Anyway, there's options. There's, with as many like teen queer stuff that's on TV and movies right now, there's plenty of options.
Yeah, definitely is. Should we get to the awards?
Should we hand out some awards?
Yeah, let's hand out some awards. Biggest queen. Do you know what? I'm giving it to Jesse.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was...
It's an option, yeah.
PC?
No, of course it is.
Yeah.
He has an entire documentary called Scream Queen about himself.
That's true, but also about his, relationship with the title of Scream Queen.
Yeah, he's embraced it. Yeah,
he's embraced it.
He's a male Scream Queen.
Yeah,
and I fully think he deserves it.
I agree.
He went through a journey in the film, outside of the film, and the award's his.
Yeah, I'd give it to Jesse as well. I wasn't sure if I was allowed, if it was okay. I'd initially given it to Lisa's mum for knowing what she had to do to get the job.
Is yours Jesse as well?
Yeah, mine's would also be Jesse, but I do think Lisa's mom is a good runner-up. Like that's a good, Susan Lucci.
Susan Lucci. 19 times.
Biggest gasp, I give it to the bird explosion scene.
Really?
Yeah, because what the fuck?
I give it to the ass whipping.
Well,
oh, I give it to Freddy bursting out of his body.
Wow,
that was a lot.
Did no one gasp at the ass whipping?
Of course,
a gay gasp.
Yeah,
gasp.
Best dialogue. I have two answers. So genuine best dialogue because of the line delivery. It's "You are all my children now." Best gay dialogue would have to be "He's inside me." Fred Krueger, he's inside me and he wants to take me again.
I just went with "And you want to sleep with me?"
That's mine. Yes. Yeah. She's waiting for you in the cabana, and you want to sleep with me. That whole exchange, yes.
And finally, that's camp. It has to, well, for me, it has to go to the Touch Me All Night Long dance scene.
Yes,
100%.
I agree. Definitely.
Yeah. Ratings, I give it 7 drinks with Bob Shea dressed in S&M gear in a gay bar out of 10.
I gave it 7 queer S&M joints downtown out of 10.
I'm gonna give it 6 drinks at an S&M club downtown.
We're all going to Don's place then, clearly. Like,
Yeah.
we've all gone.
Oh wait, no, I'm gonna change mine. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give mine 6 ass whippings in a gym shower.
I'll give it 7 Meryl Streep body shots. I'd pay good money to see that, by the way. I'm sorry, that's twice I've interrupted you now. But I would pay very good money to see Meryl Streep body shots.
Masterpiece, trash or basic. I've just put it as a camp fun time. It's really none of the above.
Yeah, it's got its
I agree.
issues, but overall, a fun time had by all.
Can we call it a camp classic? I think it would.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But there's something for the Hetties to enjoy too.
Is there?
They win in the end.
It's horror.
As always.
As allies, there's a difference between the straights and the Hetties.
The allies can enjoy it.
The allies can enjoy it too. Not the straights.
It's available on DVD, Blu-ray, and video on demand. And if you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out Butcher Bacon Nightmare Maker, another super queer 80s horror film.
If you enjoyed this, I recommend Sleepaway Camp, another camp slasher film with lots of shorts.
Yeah.
Those are both. I've seen Sleepaway Camp. I haven't seen the other one. Those are good choices. I went a different route. I'm going more modern, and I'm going with Freaky.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Body swap. Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you're a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, talk to us on social media. We're Horror Cult Trash Ever on Facebook and Instagram. Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm DeadEyeGaz92 on Letterboxd. Gazmo205 on Instagram. And GazCruise92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
And give us a rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, like and follow on everything else. Trent, where can we find A Nightmare on Fear Street?
Whew. Okay, Sheree usually does this, so this is not my forte. We are on Twitter at Nightmare Fears. I don't know why we're not we didn't try to make it the whole name, but we didn't. And we are on Instagram at A Nightmare on Fear Street.
And you're on all the usual podcast streaming platforms. I know I listen to you on Spotify.
Yeah, we're on Spotify. We're on Apple. I don't know. We're on a lot of them.
Yeah. Go check them out. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
No problem. We definitely have to have you both on some time and pick something else out to analyze. And
if there's anything truly, obviously your forte is horror films, but we sort of go between horror and trashy films as well. So if there's ever a trashy shite bottom of the barrel film you think we might like to talk about, you're more than welcome to join us. It's not just Pride Month. Guests are welcome whenever.
Well, thank you. Yes. I'll talk to Sheree.
Really bad. I will leave Gary to it. Prior engagements that day.
We'll be back on Friday with our final Pride Month episode, which will be a Dracula's Daughter original versus remake with its very loose remake, Nausea.
Classy.
We'll be back next week on Tuesday with Titanic 666.
Not so classy.
Speaking of bottom of the barrel trash. And exclusive announcement for this episode, because it seems to fit in place. This October, we'd usually be doing Halloween classics, but this October, we are officially doing 5 weeks at Freddy's, and we are discussing all of the other Nightmare on Elm Street films, ending with New Nightmare on Halloween.
Yes.
Because yes, Freddy versus Jason, you're getting that as a Friday the 13th episode.
Place your bets.
And I will say, A New Nightmare is my favorite of this franchise.
Such a good film.
Of the sequels.
Of the franchise. I like it better than the original.
Oh, wow. Controversial.
I think, hot take, I think Heather is a better actress in that than she is in the original.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
No, absolutely. She
What do you mean? I'm not
definitely
taking that seriously.
That
It's very true.
Yeah,
It's very true.
love New Nightmare. But yes, we'll be back. Same time, same place on Friday.
Bye.